All right, now we're live.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Welcome to J&J Mondays. John Lee 77, J77 for short for those who already know me. We're continuing with the pilot series. We got one more pilot episode before we do the official episode. Now you're kind of wondering, where's Josh again? Well, if you have seen the last week episode, she is going on a family vacation. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be an episode up. I have also a special host, which I was dying to get on the broadcast for a long, long time. James Daniel Walsh, want to say hello?
Hello, everyone.
All right. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about here, a lot of stuff we need to cover. But I have to ask the question because this is actually the freestyle time of our show. James, I know you're a fan of Ghostbusters.
Yes.
I know that you've been watching. I know you've been watching a lot of stuff involving Ghostbusters. I have to ask. I didn't know if you did a blog on it or not. I didn't know if you seen what Bill Murray had to say about the issue. But you know how much the off again, off and on again story about how this film's gonna be finally done. Ghostbusters 3 is gonna finally be off the ground. They're gonna finally do it. Dan Aykroyd has been pushing since 1996, and now they might not only make Ghostbusters 3, but it may be actually a sequel slash reboot because they're looking to do an all female cast.
Yeah.
Now, you and I both know that this is something of a trend now. They are talking about the Expendables being all female cast the next outing, known as Expendables. They also have the Thor situation where it's a female one. Now we got Ghostbusters. This is a franchise you love dearly. You was not happy with Bill Murray not wanting to be part of the Ghostbusters series, and now this happens.
Yeah.
I gotta hear from you first before I got my own saying. What's your feeling about this if they do in fact proceed with a female Ghostbusters cast?
Well, I was of the mind that no matter what, I wanted a Ghostbusters 3. Even if it was terrible, I wanted a Ghostbusters 3. Until Harold Ramis died. When Harold Ramis died, at that point, it was like, you know what? For me, they can't do it now. Without all four of them, even though they want to, I always knew that they were probably going to just be cameos. They were just going to hand the proton packs over. I wanted all four of them. The fact that it can't happen now, and the fact that Bill Murray still probably won't do it, um, it's not that I don't have a huge problem. I always knew that they were going to do one or two female cast members, and that was fine. The idea of it being an all-female Ghostbusters team, though, it just feels like a gimmick. It just feels like, oh, we're going to do the female version of Ghostbusters, and the same with Expendables. That's stupid. I mean, they already had women in the Expendables movie, so the idea of, well, we're going to do an all-female, but why not just bring? I know they said like Sigourney Weaver and Linda Hamilton and everything. Just bring them into the main franchise. You don't need to do an all-female cast. It just feels too much like a gimmick. So I don't know. I'm not saying it'd be a terrible movie, and I'd probably even go see it. But I don't know. For me, when the day Harold Ramis died, that was the day that any hope I had for Ghostbusters 3 died. So I don't even really pay a lot of attention anymore because the stories come out every week. So and they have for the last 20 years. So I can't. I know that Dan Aykroyd is saying, "Oh no, for sure, we're starting in spring." Yeah, he said that before. It's been every spring for the last at least 10 years. Every spring they were supposed to start filming, and every spring they don't. So I don't even pay attention anymore. I see the articles, and I just I like the idea. I did see Bill Murray's cast that he suggested. I like Kirsten Wiig. Um, I can't. I know he said Melissa McCarthy, who I don't really like, but can't remember who the other two were. But yeah, I mean, Kirsten Wiig would be interesting. Other than that, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really care anymore.
Well, I think you just pointed out that why there are things that that basically all fans are now feeling right now. The fans are just saying, enough already. We don't want this anymore. Uh, and that's largely because every year they keep saying it's coming out this year. They got to start filming. I got to the point a long time ago and said until I start seeing pictures where they're actually on set and actually doing something, it's all just wordplay. To me, I feel like this. I wouldn't have mind seeing a Ghostbusters 3 if it was passionately going to someone else. Like I always vision Extreme Ghostbusters, the animated series, to be the blueprint for the next Ghostbusters movie. The old generation teaching the new generation, and they're going from there. I would even mind if they do reboot it. I don't really mind. I think that out of all the series, I think that would be the perfect time to reboot it for the next generation. It wouldn't be for me because I'm still holding dear to the first two Ghostbusters movies, but for those who are growing up, who have never seen a Ghostbuster or have heard about the Ghostbusters but never really understand the full lore of it, this would be a perfect time to reboot it for them.
Yeah.
Um, as for the female cast, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first heard about this new trend they've been doing, they did it with Thor, they did it with they're gonna do it with the Expendables, and they probably will do it with the Ghostbusters. I first thing I ask myself is, don't say nothing yet. Just sit on your feelings for a while and see what you feel. And after a while, I said, okay, well, I can't say this wrong. I have no problem with it. My only beef is, do they have to be specific characters that we already knew who they are? I mean, couldn't they just be a different type of group altogether? They don't have to, let's say, use the word Ghostbusters on it. It's the same thing with Thor. I think the character, and I kind of understand what in comic books, because comic books have typecast themselves in a war where they can't even do new characters. That's unfortunate. But with this character, if to me, when I see her as Thor, I don't really see her as Thor because I already know who Thor is. I see her as a different incarnation that you can use for a different name, but to put her as Thor, it's kind of like saying that you don't have faith in this character um, being by herself, and that's why I got the feeling of it. But in
And
terms of seeing female, strong female characters, I don't have a problem with it.
what's going to happen with the Thor situation is the old Thor will come back, and then they will take the female Thor and they will make her a new character anyway. So that's inevitable. That's how comic books go. They're going to do that at some point. So why not just have her be a different character to start with?
That's a good question. I mean, to me, it's very strange how the entertainment world views strong female women these days, especially when over the 80s we did have strong female women. I mean, there's a lot of people who are big time fans of Sarah Connor,
Mhm.
who are fans of Whipley from Aliens. I mean, they have done a good job, not only showing these strong female characters, but making them revolve from where they were. And to me, it's almost like they almost like afraid to go that step forward. And they really don't know how to do it. And it's kind of weird and it's kind of sad that all these years we have still have that kind of, we don't want to pull the trigger, or we need to have a team or have them use the same name of other characters just so they can actually live up to expectation. I just say just write a strong character, make her likable, give people the reason to follow her. I think you do just fine. I don't think giving them names, recognizable names, is going to do that. I don't think it's going to work. Just on that alone. I mean, I don't mind seeing a strong character. I mean, it's about time we start getting strong characters, but to have them based on names we already know that most likely nobody's going to really follow because they're going to try and do comparisons between the two, and they say this is not really Thor, this is not really the real Ghostbusters. Just don't make no sense to me.
No. And even, I mean, I'm sure Stallone thought he was being really progressive when he came up with the idea of Expendables. The title itself is insulting. The title itself is just, it's a joke. I mean, I heard it and I laughed and I thought this can't possibly be a serious story. And yeah, I mean, it's basically implying that these women aren't good enough to be on the main team. So we're gonna make a secondary team that's just for the girls. We'll have one girl, fine, but we don't want to have too many on our team. And that's at that point it is kind of insulting. And as for Ghostbusters, I mean, if they are playing different characters, because I've heard it'll be a sequel, then I've heard it'll be a reboot, then I've heard it'll be like a hybrid of the two. I don't want Kirsten Wiig playing, you know, Patricia Venkman, or I don't want like female versions of the Ghostbusters that exist. Just make a whole new, like the Ghostbusters exist, and now this is a new team of Ghostbusters that, I don't want it to be like a remake with female characters. So like I said though,
Well,
I just feel like it's a gimmick. I feel like it's you know it's a little bit insulting, I think, to women to do like what you said, to just give them like an offshoot of a male story, like Supergirl, Batgirl. Create something new and give that, and let women, have their own thing, or have a team of Ghostbusters where it's half women, half men. Let them participate in it without like taking it over, or having their own offshoot of it. Otherwise, it's just sort of lip service to women, and I think that's really insulting to them.
I agree, and I really do hope if this ever gets off the ground, because again, I'm not buying it's actually gonna get off the ground. I mean, how many years we heard this so many times? But if they do decide to do something, I hope it pays respect towards the franchise, uh, as well as just giving the new generation something to sink their teeth into to keep coming back for more. I will say this about the Ghostbusters franchise. I'm not talking about anything else but the Ghostbusters franchise. It has been close to now 30 years, not counting the second one, and it's still to this day, the fanfare for this series is unbelievable. Now, I don't know if you credit the animated series or just the movie itself, but that says a lot to me that there are still people willing to talk about Ghostbusters in such a way that you would think this film came out 2 years ago. I mean, I will give it credit where credit. So there are films I've seen in the 80s they don't even talk about, don't even mention franchise like Police Academy. Police Academy, they were talking about possibly doing a series, and nobody talked about that series, and it had not been talked about ever since then. So the fact that Ghostbusters actually have that strong of a power, you gotta give that's from the directors and the stars themselves. I give them credit. They really gave something for people to actually keep talking about it, keep dreaming of a possible Ghostbusters series, whether it's in TV form or even movie form. So that I hope Columbia takes notice of that, and hopefully they say, okay, there is people out there who wants this, wants a Ghostbusters of some form. Let's do it. Let's do it right. Let's give them something to worry about. I will say this though, I hope, and I'm a big Ghostbusters fan. I like the second one, but hearing the behind the scenes scares me. I mean, there were people who did not like this second one, and the first one. I don't even know if you noticed there was a big ratings war in the 80s and 90s about this film really being PG, LP-13. If you got the DVD box,
Mm.
check your box. You may actually have a PG-13 version on your box. And to
I'm
this
actually,
day, there's still debate of whether or not they should just change the rating again.
yeah.
Go
I'm
ahead, I
on
was listening.
tomorrow. The Blu-ray comes out. The 30th anniversary Blu-ray comes out tomorrow. So and I have it on DVD.
Hmm.
Normally I don't upgrade to Blu-ray, but there's new documentaries and stuff on there. It's like if there's one movie that I would rebuy on Blu-ray, it's Ghostbusters. So hopefully there'll be documentaries on there talking about some of that behind the scenes stuff. I mean, the behind the scenes of especially the first one is fascinating.
Hmm.
What it originally was conceived to be,
Right.
and it ended up, because it sounds terrible. The original idea of Ghostbusters sounds terrible, but
Is
they
that the one with the post-apocalyptic one?
yeah, with John Belushi, and they were more in a like a time machine going around hunting ghosts, and throughout time, and it just sounds awful. So I'm hoping, I want to hear more about that, and hear more about like the behind the scenes. And I know Bill Murray hated the second one. I don't know
Well,
why he came back, but he did the second one and he hated it the whole time. So uh,
well,
I'm
for what I understood, for, for what I understood, and even Rick Moranis went out and say he hated the second one, which is probably why he was hesitant to come out of retirement to do the third one. They said they water it down to the point where it was almost, to his opinion, was almost like doing this first one all over again, but just more geared towards the children. Which you can actually, if you see the two films, they almost match pretty much identical to each other. Just one is more kids friendly than the first one. The first one was never meant for kids. I mean, if you look at the first one, hands down, that was definitely meant for adult humor. But it was the animated series that made it more popular than ever. Of course, they're gonna make it more kids friendly in the second one. So he never did the slime story. They actually convinced the studios to leave the slime title out of the film. I forgot what the subtitle was, but it is called Ghostbusters 2. So there was a lot of not so very friendly, because once the editors get a hold of it, there's going to be some butchering going on, especially if they're trying to make it as children friendly as possible. I still enjoyed it though.
Yeah, the second one it's not as good, but it's still it's those four guys and they're really funny together. So I I can't. I normally, if I watch the first one, I immediately put the second one on. It's sort of like the Back to the Future trilogy. Yeah, they go downhill, but if I watch the first, I gotta watch the second one. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I always wanted Ghostbusters to be a trilogy. Inevitably, it will be. I mean, one of these days they will pull the trigger. One of these days it will happen, but um, they might all be dead by then. I mean, that could be another 10, 15 years before that actually happens. So, but yeah, I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know. It's one of those things where, like I said, I've moved on. So, uh, not that not. I mean, if it comes out, I hope it's good, but I just don't care anymore. So,
Like I said, we're speaking to a lot of fans though, but there is still talk, and who knows? It may shock us. One day we may go to the movie theaters, and next thing you see Ghostbusters sign out there. We still got
yeah.
fan films, so that says something. So,
Mhm.
all right,
Yeah.
now that we got the good fun side of the story, get ourselves a loosey goosey, because we got a lot of stories we got to touch on, and I might as well just get on because we have a lot. And I'm gonna start with Sarah Playton because she's actually on my screen at this speak, and I don't
I'm
know what it is. When I looked at this, when I looked at this article, I was like, do I really have to see what the hell this woman said? I mean, why are we giving this woman a microphone to talk about her rhetoric, propaganda stuff, when we all know that she's so full of herself? It's not even funny.
yeah.
However, after the events that's happened in the last 24 hours, I had no. It's pretty much inevitable that I have to see what the hell she had to say about our nice President Obama, and what she feels about the crisis. Basically, the title says, "Sarah Palin, I owe America a global apology." I didn't
Which
even know that she wanted to apologize for anything. But go ahead.
uh, I know that the apology that she, I owe America a global apology. Um, you know, her whole thing is, well, if John McCain and I had won, we would be dealing with ISIS and we would be taking them down. And unlike Obama, I don't know, maybe the Palin family would all get drunk and go over there and take on, because it seems that's their way of dealing with conflict, is to get drunk and start a fight. But no, I agree with you. Why does anyone have this woman on anymore? Why does any show? She is such a joke. She is such a clown. I mean, she's America's clown, and I don't understand why anyone would have her on anymore, and not feel like they had delegitimized their show by having her on. It it's baffling to hear her speak. It's baffling how she ever rose to any kind of level of power. But to know how close she was to being the most powerful person in the world is kind of terrifying. I mean, she's an idiot. she
It's very
she
disturbing.
is. It's yeah.
Well,
She's
I'm gonna read. She's making you upset. She is really making you upset. Just hearing her name gets you mad. But
well. It's one
anyway,
of those
oh
people
man,
where I forget she exists. You know, she goes away for a little while, and I kind of forget about her, and I'm like, oh, this is over. Good. And then she comes back and says something stupid, and everybody's talking about her. And by the way, everybody's talking to her about ISIS. Nobody's asking her about the backyard barbecue brawl. Nobody. Why is nobody asking her about that? Why is nobody saying, "Hey, what happened with your family last weekend?" Nobody's asking her that question. They're
because she
asking her
wanted to
about
come on
ISIS.
the air if you ask her anything personal like that. That's why.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm
That's
sure
why I
that's.
didn't.
I'm
That's why I didn't bother asking. Because they know she'll probably walk off the stage.
well.
Hmm.
The only
She
network
walk off the
that
show if they
she'll.
ask her that. She
I
doesn't
mean,
want to
she'll
hear
go
what
on.
she doesn't want. She doesn't want to have to deal with something that she did wrong. She wants to talk about what other people do wrong. She doesn't see herself doing anything wrong. That's the problem with someone of her and some of the GOPs and even the Democrats, for that matter, when it comes to these issues. They never do anything wrong. They can't admit that they did anything wrong. I'm right. I know what I'm talking about. And don't you dare talk about anything that reflects anything bad on me.
And I'm not a fan
And
of
the media
Obama.
will do that.
I'm not a
But
fan of Obama.
but you're right. They should talk about that because
But her whole
go ahead.
thing with Obama, the whole like, well, I would handle it different. How would you handle it differently? He's bombing people. Isn't that what I mean? That's not what I want him to do. It's not what progressives want him to do. But it's what Republicans want him to do, and he always does what Republicans want him to do. And well, it's not enough. It's not. He's not doing enough. I mean, do they want him to nuke Iraq? Like, is that like how far can he go before they go? Okay, we're happy with what he did now. We're satisfied. I mean, my biggest problem with Obama is that I always feel like he's giving in. He's caving in to what they want in an effort to make them like him, and they never will. Nothing he does will ever be good enough. And again, I mean, he's sort of like, oh, what is Fox News saying about me? What is Fox News saying about me? Who cares what Fox News is saying about you? Everybody that watches Fox News is 65 or older. They'll all be dead soon. Just, why don't you worry about what the people who voted for you actually want you to do? And it's one of those things where I mean, I'm sure that he was listening to what Sarah Palin had to say. He cares for whatever reason, I don't know. No one else cares though. Nobody else cares what Sarah Palin has to say, except people that watch Fox News, and that's again people 65 and older. So I don't understand why anybody cares what she has to say anymore. But you're right. It's always
Well,
about what people do.
you just pretty much say. Mhm. I'll say this because basically you just summed up this whole article, so I don't need to talk much about it. Um, Sean Hannity I believe did the interview. Um, it just basically says a lot about what you just basically covered here. That she felt if John McCain, I noticed that she didn't talk about Mitt Romney in this whole thing, but she said if John McCain was president, um, things would have been handled differently. And he said that in his speech, she feels like I owe America a global apology because John McCain thought all of this. John McCain should have been our president. I don't know if he did or didn't. John McCain have not said anything about the situation. But here's the deal with the whole thing, and I'm is it me? I'm the only one who sees this as saying that one, this country is not going to deal with negotiations with terrorists. Am I right or wrong about that? I'm the only one who feels that way. That they're not going to negotiate with people of that caliber at all. Period.
Mhm.
Am I looking at that? Am I got that whole thing wrong?
That's the way we're supposed to handle it.
Hmm. And hearing these people talk about this, well, I'm personally like this. I'll say it like I'll say it, and I know a lot of journalists is probably looking at this. Those who actually dare look at this, saying they're doing a job and everything else. I feel like this: pull these guys out of this country, all right? Because because it's obvious they're not getting protection that they need in the country that they are supposed to be reporting. All right, to me, they've put their whole life on the line. These guys are getting killed senselessly. It blew my mind. This is like the third person who have died over that country, and it's like, why are they still there when we pull them out? But that's we can go for that for hours. So I'm talking about that. But the thing about what bothers me is that they all want to point this thing on the president. Unless you want the president to declare full-blown war on this country, what do you want him to do? What is it? What else can he do except doing what he's doing right now?
And it's not a country.
Is
I mean,
there's a lot more going on in my opinion, and what I'm seeing than just what exactly. Because I tell you this, I feel they try to push us back into war
mm,
more so than anything. They want us to react.
mhm.
And to me, I'm like this. These guys ain't. This country's don't have. It's not stable. It's obviously that the government doesn't want to handle their stuff. Get my troopers out of there because we can't keep going through this.
No,
How many
that's
more lives
and
are going to risk because what's going on? Because these guys don't want peace.
well, and I mean the whole thing is really it's not about they don't give a shit about Iraq, they don't care about Syria, they care about Saudi Arabia. They care about ISIS making it to Saudi Arabia and getting our oil. And it's just another reason why I always feel like this is a situation that Republicans and Democrats should agree on is getting off of oil. If because for Democrats it's the environment and whatever. For Republicans, it should be if we're off oil, we don't have to deal with the Middle East at all anymore. They can do whatever they want. Let them do whatever they want. I feel bad for the people over there who are stuck in those countries and have to deal with people like that. But we're not helping. We have never helped over there, and you know they need to just be allowed to just whatever they're going to do, whatever if anybody's going to deal with the fundamentalist crazy people over there, it needs to be the people that live there, not us coming in and trying to fix it and trying to make them look like us, trying to make them countries like ours, because they're never going to be. So it is time for us to
Hmm.
just leave the Middle East to its own devices.
Well, I don't know what the president's gonna do. I don't think he can do much than what he's already doing already, unless this country is willing to say, "All right, we're gonna bring our troops back in there," which I don't think anybody in the United States wants that to happen. He's going to do what he's going to continue doing. My feeling is those who are reporters, those who are aid workers, those who are working in any kind of form over at these war-torn countries, just pull out because there is no protection for you. You get caught, there's a slight possibility no one's coming to your rescue. And I said this before in my last video. You're taking a very dangerous risk going over there. I know that's your job. I know that you're trying to give us coverage of this, but understand that this is something that there's more hostile than we ever have to deal with, especially ever since we decided to pull out our troops. It seems like they're doing everything in their power to bring us right back in. And frankly, it's becoming tiresome. I'm getting really aggravated that we keep putting ourselves in these situations to the point where it's almost impossible to get out, no matter what we do, and no matter what president, Republican or Democrat, they're going to deal with the same situation. It's going to be the same results.
Yeah.
So they can blame Obama all they want. If Bush was in there, McCain, Romney, they would have done the same. They would have been in the same situation, and nothing's going to change that unless they got magical powers that make this go away. This is not something that any president have a great solution to. I have yet to see
Well,
it.
it's the thing that the Republicans don't understand. You cannot fight. You know, they're trying to fight these people as if it's a country. It's not a country. You're fighting small groups of people within a country. But you know, you're not going to war with Iraq and Syria. You're going to war with this, you know, group of people who are not that large, but they're woven within the populace. So what happens is you're going to bomb, you know, an ISIS stronghold in Syria, and you're going to kill a bunch of little kids. And when you kill the little kids, then ISIS is going to come out and say, "Look, they killed all these little kids. Look at how they're raining fire down on you. Come join us.
Exactly.
Look at what they're doing. Come join us." And they're going to use it as a recruiting tool.
Hmm.
There would be no ISIS if we had just stayed out of Iraq.
Hmm.
If we had stayed out of Iraq, there wouldn't be an ISIS. This is our fault. So there is a part of me that feels like we should clean it up, but at the same time, we're just going to make it worse. Anything we do at this point is just going to make it worse.
Hmm. Well, I'm hoping these next 2 years are going to be something, especially these midterms, which I consider very important. And well, this year we're going to find out on just how this country goes in terms of our foreign policies. But it definitely needs to be something needs to be done, especially when it comes down to this. They need to come up with a decision, which I don't think they're going to do anytime soon. In terms of dealing with countries like this, because to me, um, I do not want to see the brave men and women go over there and lose their lives for nothing. Because that's exactly what a lot of the guys, a lot of these Republicans and Democrats want them to do. To go over there, fight. What are they fighting for? I'm being realistic. What are they fighting for? Uh, but like I said, this is a topic that's going to be ongoing. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this, both on this segment and other segments as well. But we got to move on, and we're going to move on to pretty much going down to the entertainment world, and we're going to pretty much mix it up here as what we always do here. We have to talk about Keanu West.
Mm.
Uh, I found out about this yesterday. I don't know what he was thinking, if he meant this as a gesture or a joke. If he did, it failed because it got a lot of people attention and not in a good way. Um, this article was done by the Huffington Post, and it pretty much says here that Keanu West demands fans in wheelchairs to stand up. Not a good move. Um, the article says that Keanu West refused to continue his show on Friday night in Sydney, Australia, until the entire audience was standing doing a physical yatsa worship. Unfortunately, the self-esteem, unfortunately, the self-esteem one of the audience members had a prosthetic leg, and another used a wheelchair. This was told by the Daily Mail that he addressed the crowd saying, I can't do this show until everyone stand up. Unless you got a handicap pass, you you get a special parking." And I'm not gonna say the word he said. The fan waved their legs in the air, and Keanu so kindly continued the show. Stopping again when he saw that the remaining single that there remained a single seating fan. And according to the tabloids, he then halted performance Good Life, saying that this is the longest I've ever waited to do a song. It's unbelievable. Before sending over a bodyguard to check that the fan was definitely unable. If I made any miscorrections, you can feel free to correct me, but I'm just going as slow as possible here. It says here that the crowd also was yelling that he was in a wheelchair, but he waited uh, for confirmation. The witnesses said, while the others said that the crowd made a wheelchair motion to alert the singer to his mistake when he sent whoever this person is, Picasso, up to There he said he's in a wheelchair. It's fine. The witness reported. All right. How do
Massive,
I go about this? You want to start this up? You want to start this?
just
Because
the massive ego on this guy. I mean, you know what? If I have paid my ticket to go to your concert, I don't have to stand up. I don't have to. Even if I'm in a wheelchair, if I'm not in a wheelchair, it doesn't matter. I don't have to stand up. And just I mean, the fact that the guy was in a wheelchair makes it extra horrible. You don't have to get up just
oh
because
well, I mean,
I can't keep singing my brilliant song. And the fact that the guy has said I've read interviews with him where he said, I'm the voice of my generation. I'm a musical genius. I'm this. I'm that. No, you're not. You're really not. And uh, if he is the voice of his generation, it's only the voice of self-involvement and the sort of the voice of the generation of people who are who maybe think that they're so interesting, they're so brilliant, everything they do is perfect. Uh, his music's not that great, and he's kind of, in my opinion anyway, he's kind of just a joke. He's just somebody who he shoots off his mouth and thinks everything he says is brilliant, and everybody has to stand. I'm performing. Everybody has to stand, and no, I can't stand Kanye West. I cannot stand Kanye West.
I can see from your voice. I'll say this. This is a classic case of over promoting yourself. They do this a lot. You heard the old say now everybody scream, everybody say oh. They want involvement on the show. I have no problem with people want to get involved if that's their choice. If they don't, then you know what? You still got paid because they paid like almost $100 to $300 for your ticket. So who cares? I think it's more about they want to give the impression that everybody's enjoying themselves, everybody's rocking, everybody's standing up for every song he plays. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I think the problem I have here is that one, I think the article, and this is my opinion, had a little bit misrepresented what he actually was trying to do. He didn't exactly say anyone who's on a wheelchair stand up. I think
Yeah,
he said in a quote, unless you have a handicap pass, then everybody should stand up and do their and support the team. That much I will say, because this is the thing. If you look at the main reports, and all the reports have said it, that he said those on wheelchair need to stand up. Where in the reality is, he basically said unless you have a reason to sit down, I expect everybody to stand up and join the show. With that being said, you really don't want to put yourself in a situation where the media may represent you in any form. He's not exactly the darling in media coverage, especially with his wife, Kim Kardashian. But the point is that, and he did came out and said that it was a misunderstanding, which I have to agree with him. It was a misunderstanding. I think what the problem was, how the crowd is. He's saying, I see one person there. Uh, he probably didn't see that person was in a wheelchair, even though everybody is trying to signal to him. But let's be honest, he's on stage. There's thousands in the crowd. It could mean anything. And once they saw what was happening, that's when he said, "Oh, damn! I know this is going to make the front page." And sure enough, it did because a lot of people was talking about it. I have my feelings on Keanu West a lot. What he did with Tyler Swift didn't really think that was cool. Running on stage, taking a microphone for her. There's also a lot of stuff he probably done. This one I'm not gonna go too nuts on. For the simple fact is, I think there's a, I think there's a misleading in what the article has said. Again, if he would have said all handicapped guys, I don't care if you got on a wheelchair or all on a wheelchair to stand up. then we got something to talk about because one, A, you're putting that person in jeopardy to injure themselves more, and B, it's just insensitive and wrong. But he's in the crowd. He is saying everybody stand up unless you on, and it's a big difference between everybody on wheelchairs to unless you're handicapped, stand up and cheer. That I think they blew a little bit out of proportion when it came to that. Now this guy would have said something later about what's the big deal, then yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, people in wheelchairs, you can't do that, especially those who are fans of you. You're hurting their feelings when you do that. But I don't think that was his intentions, though. I just don't.
I
You
don't think it was.
disagree?
I think that he. I don't think that he's. I mean, you're right. He did say, if you got a handicap pass, which by the way is kind of also insensitive. But um, I don't know. To me, it's like, I mean, I've gotten this. A couple of people have said this to me before, that they aren't entirely comfortable when I will uh, say something about manic expression and I refer to us as the greatest community on the web. They're like, well, it sounds egotistical. The difference is, I'm not saying I'm the greatest person on the web. I'm the greatest, whatever. Or manic expression is great because of me or anything. I'm saying that the community as a whole is. I don't like egotism. I don't like, I would never go out there and talk about my book and say, no, no, it's the greatest book that you'll ever read, or what, read my blogs. They're the greatest blogs that you'll ever read. I would never do that. Kanye West does that every day. Kanye West comes out every day and says, I am the greatest musician who not only is working currently, but has ever lived, that has ever existed. And that gets old. That just really, especially when you read stories about like his clothing line where he releases like a plain white T-shirt and it costs $800 because it's got a tag in the back that has his name on it. Well, it's my shirt. I designed it. It's a plain white T-shirt, and he's talking about like, no, no, I designed it, so it's $800. Um, it's the egotism that bothers me. And again, he wasn't trying to hurt handicapped people, but what he was doing was saying to a crowd of people who had paid money to go to his show, I'm not going to perform for you unless you're on your feet adoring me. And that's the part of the story that bothers me. The handicap part, the fact that he would send bodyguards down into the crowd to make sure that the guy was indeed handicapped.
That is a
That's
problem. I agree with that. That he shouldn't have done. I mean, that was a little bit out of line, and that made him even more. That brought more attention to him than he definitely needed because they're like, what is he doing? I mean, and people was trying to warn him, but once you start putting that in motion, it's a little too late. So that I think that he didn't need to do. Like again, and you're right about what you said. If I'm paying all this money to see this concert, what difference does it make if I stand up or sit down? As long as I'm enjoying your show, that's all that matters.
yeah. Or if I'm not enjoying your show, it doesn't matter. I paid a ticket. I don't have to do anything. Uh, it's not
Hmm.
even like. I mean, I wouldn't agree with this either, but it's not like it was the national anthem, and he's like, well, that person's not standing for the national anthem because at that point it's not about him; it's about something else. But this was about him. This was about no, no. I need everybody on their feet so that I know I'm great. Because if I see even one person out there who's not jumping up and down and cheering for me, I'm just not going to perform. And that's not okay. That's not okay. But again, it's par
I
for the course
understand,
for me.
but my feeling is that again, I think he was out of line, setting the guard to check and see if the person have a reason to sit down. I think it doesn't matter. I do agree that the ego sometimes when it comes to these stars is so great that it's annoying. I still think he's not annoying as Justin Bieber. That's just my opinion.
Oh,
But to me, in terms of
that's a
what
low
the
bar.
article has said, what the art. I mean, like that doesn't mean I can't. He's on my last nerves with his antics right now. And he's still
Yeah.
wondering why he's getting booed all over the place. Well, I want you to sit down and doze on what you've been doing the last few months. Then you understand. But in terms of County West, I just think this was a poor judgment error on his part. I think that his ego did get the better of him on this one, but I never felt because when I heard about this, that he didn't. My first thing is I know he's not. He didn't do that. He didn't ask a person who is paralyzed to stand up and shout. I know he cannot possibly do that. And when I read the article, yeah, there was some stupid stuff that he have done, but I never got the feeling that he told every handicapped who was in the audience to stand up and shout and shout. That
Well,
did not I did not comprehend what the main title versus the actual read. That's why I read the whole thing. So that way, I'm making sure I'm getting it right now that he just did this. Again, he did acknowledge the situation. He said it was a misunderstanding. I'm pretty sure he's embarrassed by the whole thing. But my feeling is, if you're going to write an article, make sure the article match the headlines you just put up there because the headlines pretty much says, and I quote, he told people who was in wheelchair to stand up. He didn't
yeah.
say that. He basically said those, like you said, was those should not. But you should not see a person sitting down unless you have a handicap pass. Now he shouldn't have said that period, but and yeah, it was an insensitive thing. But is a whole different between him saying that and him saying those on wheelchairs stand up. And I think that's a little bit irresponsible for the media, which let's be honest, don't like him anyway. So I
Well,
just think that
the title of the
to
article was
me, media need to be a little careful with that.
yeah. The title of the article misrepresented what actually happened in the story. But I mean, the what happened in the story, and which
Um,
they didn't have to do. The what happened in the story was bad enough. You didn't have to turn around and try and make the title, make him look worse. Uh, he already looked bad. You didn't have to make him look worse. So I agree with that.
Yeah, so that's my feeling on that, and that's my feeling on the Charles Barkley. On not Charles Barkley, on the County West. If there any more about the situation, which I doubt it's gonna blow over eventually. He said his piece. I'm glad he actually talked about it. But I'm gonna move on and talk about Charles Barkley. But this is also something more. This is gonna be an extension because this is a very important thing that Charles Barkley have done. You may agree or disagree with Charles Barkley, and this is always up for debate. But the one thing I will say, I respect his honesty, and I respect him bringing something out that needs to be bring out, something that a lot of people always seem, and this is something with the NFL, always want to put the blame on one particular entity, one particular person, one particular problem. But when it comes to actually talking about it in a society-based manner, um, they tend to shy away or go back to the bubble, believing that this cannot affect them. As long as it don't affect them, it doesn't matter until it actually hits close to home. Now, I'm referring to the NFL. This last week, the NFL has been hammered, and rightfully so, for the mishandling of the Ray Rice situation. Within the span of 48 hours, within a stretch of 7 days, we not only heard about the Ray Rice incident, but other football players who have either A, been convicted waiting for appeal over domestic violence, but also has been indicted for child abuse. And this situation stems from a lot of things that is now just on the, going to the surface. The reason why I'm bringing this up here, because I normally I was going to do it as an entertainment round of story, but I felt better to talk about it here to get that debate going. But it needs to be done. The debate is that a lot of people was mad at Cordell, and they should be because he handled it poorly. He handled it in a way that showed, at least me, that he really didn't care about the situation that was presented to him. A person, a football player, knocking a woman unconscious on the elevator, his fiance, which is now his wife, where she was just knocked out cold. If he would have hit her in the heart, she probably would have been dead. That's how sickening that video was. And the fact was, there was a lot of people who dropped the ball. First of all, let's keep it real. Our judicial system have dropped the ball when it came to handling this situation. They didn't give him a tough sentence. They pretty much gave him a slap on the wrist. And this led to a lot of people debating about one says, how fair is our system when they keep being biased on certain situations where you and I both know if this was me, you, or anybody else who's not a football player, who's not a movie star, who's not a singer, who's not someone who is in that high upper class, we will be pretty much in jail and going through a whole bunch of scrutiny behind that situation, and deservedly so for what we have done. Here's Ray Rice. He not only got a slap on the wrist with intervention program, and I look, intervention program, if you use it right, go get the help you need. I'm not saying the prevention is wrong. If you need help, by all means, if you want to work out your problems, please get help. All right, I'm not saying that we should not have these programs. I'm not saying that these programs don't work. If you are willing to if you're willing to see that you have a problem and you're willing to need to get the help, be serious about it. Get the help. All right, but there's a whole lot of issues that has happened here. The NFL have opened up Pandora's box in the worst possible way possible. And in many ways, I'm actually glad it did open up because it showed how a lot of people are not taking a lot of stuff seriously as they should. Domestic violence is a very serious situation. Child abuse is a very serious situation. And Goodell gave this man 2 games of suspension as if he didn't really do anything that bad. Meanwhile, this is the same commissioner who has no problem of giving people a year suspension for multiple use of marijuana. All right, something's wrong with this picture here. I mean, I understand that the drug is serious, and I'm not saying they shouldn't take it seriously, but you can't tell me that domestic violence or child abuse is not as serious as drugs. It just doesn't compute. Well, that's what happened. No less than a few weeks later, he finally came forward and said he made a mistake. He dropped the ball. He said that it will be a 6 week ban from first offenders with domestic violence, and then a year-long ban for the second offense. Many people were mixed about that. The only thing they was happy about it is say, okay, at least he admit he was wrong, but it still doesn't accept the fact is that there is a huge, big problem when it comes to serious issues in that sports league. And this goes all the way back to even Pac-Man Jones situation where a man was left paralyzed and the NFL didn't even throw him out the league. I don't know. I think he's still playing right now. But the point is that the NFL seemed to shy away on the more serious, um, um, serious cases such as this. TMZ. I like to call them the people who ruin people's lives channel because that's exactly what they did. Came out with the video. They came out with a very strong video, and people was stunned that that video just glossed by the NFL's office. No later than that happened, Ray Rice got kicked out of the league. He got thrown out of. He got cut by the Baltimore Ravens, and you're hearing all this stuff going on about how he should have saw the tape, how we didn't get a chance to get the tape, how all this excuses. And I'm saying, what do you mean? He was convicted of what he did. Even if you didn't see the tape, you saw enough to know to take proper actions. Did you really needed to see what he actually did to realize that oh my God, this is horrible, and that's where the whole floodgates open up. Goodell's been hammered by how he handled this case. It was poor. It was the worst case scenario he could have possibly have, and now it makes him look like not only that he didn't do a proper investigation, but now it looks like he's covering it up. And you heard a lot of sports people talk about it. A lot of people voicing their opinion about this. And in the stress as the days going on, we heard even more about a football player who is awaiting appeal right now. He was actually convicted of taking a woman room to room, beating her up, putting her head in the toilet, and he's still playing. He's not kicked out, even though he was convicted. He's waiting for an appeal. He may get it, he may not get it. It all depends. And now you heard another situation where a football player turned himself in for beating his kid with a switch to basically cause him to bleed. These are what the reports are coming out, and it's becoming now a situation now where Now people is opening their eyes to some people are opening their eyes to the situation that before them in football. Charles Barkley brought up something here. I think I gave you the link to it. But there's also video confirmation on YouTube as well. Charles Barkley have made a comment in an interview with Jim Rohns on CBS NFL program. Um, and he said that apparently is one of the league's top running backs. He's been suspended by the Minnesota Vikings while his case was played out in Montgomery, Texas. The article also says here that where he has been charged with injuring a child, a felony. Now, Barkley has said that the greatly with to discipline their children, but Roman considered wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter where you're from. Now, I'm going to explain what that means here. This is something where the society situation comes into play. There are parents who believe that this kind of discipline is okay. All right? My grandmother was from the South. I should know. All right? And she felt like there's no way that I'm going to let no one, I don't care if it's child services, tell me how to raise my kid. The kids get out of line with me, I'm going to show who's boss. All right? And corporal punishment was something that was handed out in my household and in other households that I know. A lot of people consider this as not a problem. There is one thing though. There are lots of family members who don't know their limits. And we have seen cases where corporal punishment ends in death because it becomes more than punishment. It becomes more of a submission where you want them to submit to your will, and they don't. They're going to punish you, and they're going to continue to punish you, and to the point where not only are you bleeding, but you're pretty much killing the kid. All right. Charles Barkley brought up something, and I'm glad he brought it up because it was a good debate. He said that he doesn't believe that Barkley said because he was spanked in the he was spanked in the South. There's a question if Pedersen went overboard, but we're all grown up in different environments. Every black parent in my neighborhood in the South will be in trouble or jailed under the circumstances. Roman said that the difference between child rearing and child abuse, and there's a difference between child rearing and child abuse, and that this was the latter. And I agree with Roman what he says. Um, Barkley continued on saying that I had many welts on my legs. I got beaten with a switch. Roman noted the difference between when Barkley was raised. There's a difference between when Barkley was raised today, and there's a big difference. Barkley said that's fair, but I think we really need to be careful in telling other people how to raise their kids. Now, obviously, right now, hitting children with a switch, um, or a branch twig will no longer be deemed acceptable on today's society. That is absolutely true. But back in the 80s, in the 70s, and the 60s, this was the norm. This was an absolute norm. And here's the thing: it wasn't just black parents. I know a lot of white Southerners who did the same thing. They believe in that discipline because they're not going to have children talk back to them in any kind of inappropriate manner. They're not going to have them running around. You're bad, wait till you get home. That's how they see it. All right? And every kid knows that if you've done something wrong and you see him take off the belt, you know what's coming. So it's not just a black thing. I want to make that very clear. But it is a social issue because there's a cycle that goes on. There's a cycle that happens, and what we're seeing in the NFL, what we're seeing, just basically with some of these players, that is also part of the cycle of what they've been raised when they was kids. All right. The difference is they don't know when to back off. They don't know their limits. All right. And this is why corporal punishment is not always a good thing. All right. It's not. And try to tell you right now, for me, that hurt me when growing up. When I was growing up, more than I blocked it out, but it came back out in the worst possible way. So I know that what he is saying, yeah, you're saying, this happened to me when I was a kid. This is how they raised me, but does it really make it right? All right, and this is why I feel that despite how mad I am with the NFL, despite how angry I am with all the players, there is something more to it than just getting on the NFL. Because getting on the NFL is not going to solve the overall social problems that has deal with this. That is with child abuse and even with domestic violence, because there's a cultural thinking behind this, and that's something that sadly we're really not addressing. Right? Our way of addressing it is throw the guy in jail, lock up the key, forget about getting him treatment. He deserves it. He's an animal. He's this and this and that. Is that really solving the problem? I don't think so. I said a lot on this situation. I think I said too much, but I'd like to hear you, James.
The well, the Ray Rice thing. I mean, I saw the video, and I know his wife came out and she said, "Look, this is our situation, and everybody who's seeing this video, you're seeing a private moment between my husband and I, and that's, you know what, I've gotten past it. I don't know why everybody is dragging this out and making it, something that I have to deal with again. I'm already over it." I think she's missing the point, which is what he did really is he could have killed her. I mean, he could have killed her really easily. Um, and there's a lot of women who will put up with that. Doesn't mean that the guy shouldn't be prosecuted for what he almost did. I mean, he not only knocked her out, but then her head bounces off of that metal bar in the elevator. She could have died, and this happens to a lot of women who won't ever come forward about it, but doesn't mean that something shouldn't be done about it legally, and or getting the guy treatment. But there needs to be some sort of a repercussion. You can't do that kind of thing. You can't assault people. But when it comes to what Peterson did with the kid, I mean, he took it too far. I don't have a huge problem with spanking. I think that when a parent is in control, it's fine, and the kid is acting out, it's fine. I think taking a switch to a kid and making them bleed is obviously going too far, and I think a parent not knowing their own strength is taking it too far. My mother took it too far with me plenty of times, and it's one of those things. Like you said, spanking, you know, it should be the kind of thing where there's no mark on the kid, where you do it through their pants, and there's the kid feels a little sting, but they walk away from it and they're fine. It shouldn't be the kind of thing where they're bruised or bleeding or where they're seriously injured. And the thing too is these guys who are in the NFL, they're huge. They're these gigantic, muscle-bound guys who get paid to ram as hard as they can to somebody else and knock them out if they can. And that, you take that and you apply it towards a woman or a child, you're going to seriously hurt those people. And those guys, they need to, if they've got anger issues, they need to get them under control, because they can seriously hurt somebody physically in a way that another man might not be able to. Another man wouldn't have the strength to. I mean, when Ray Rice hit his wife, she, like a rag doll, just he knocked her out. And as far as the NFL goes, what they should have been doing, I don't think it should have entirely been up to the NFL, because the guy broke a law. He should have been in jail. So that right there takes him out of the games. That right there, the NFL doesn't have to deal with well, do we suspend him? Do we do this? Do we do that? No, he's in jail. Or he's in a treatment facility somewhere. It's not up to the NFL. The NFL shouldn't even have to, what they want to do when he gets out is a different story. But in the, do we suspend him from any games? He should have been in jail. Like you pointed out, you would have been in jail. I would have been in jail. And the fact that he has the money to, hire a good lawyer and, get out of any trouble, to me, that's the bigger problem. It's more of a problem with our court system than it is necessarily with the NFL. I mean, the NFL is there to make money. That's why they exist. They're a corporation. They're not going to want to get rid of somebody who's going to make them money. And I understand that. I mean, is it moral? It doesn't matter. A corporation is not a moral entity. A corporation exists only to make money. So, do they have an obligation to punish him? Again, I think that should have been taken out of their hands. It should have been up to the law, and the law dropped the ball.
Like you bring up some very interesting points here. Like I said, the law the domino effect started with the law. Man, they didn't do their job the way they're supposed to be doing. And I do believe there is a class system when it comes to this situation. Um, the NFL, to me, I'm more upset at the fact is when situations like this do arise. Um, I feel that they have an opportunity to make a statement saying we're not going to tolerate this kind of stuff in the league, especially when it comes down to the fact that they have other players who have done worse, um, who has actually been accused of humongous crime, from somebody getting shot and killed to someone getting paralyzed from waist down, all because of their names. And it seems like the NFL, they hear it, but they don't want to really. They've tried to find ways of saying we don't really want to deal with this. And again, Cordell, the owners love him. Fine, and he makes money. Fine, I can't even address that. He has done a lot for the owners. They don't want to lose him. But the problem with I have with Roger Goodell simply stems from the fact is that he is strong on one particular part of the law when it comes to, especially with the drugs and everything else. But when it comes to something that is actually really serious, that can actually can damage the brand that he is supposed to
Yeah.
quote unquote protect, he seems to be very hesitant, and he seems to want to turn a blind eye on that. And you can't. If you say you're gonna be tough, you're gonna be a tough commissioner. Be a tough commissioner, not pick and choose, but you're gonna be tough on or not, because you have actually suspended a lot of people for far less worse penalties, far less worse than what they did than what Ray Rice have done. And to me, the fact is that you pulled the trigger and threw Ray Rice on the bus after you done suspending it for 2 games and said you want to make a new policy that you're going to only spend the people who does this for 6 games or 7 games, only to turn around and say I'm suspending Ray Rice for life. Show just how much seriousness that you are when it comes to this thing. I'm gonna be honest with you. The NFL threw Ray on the bus. He was in the scapegoats, and that was the best thing to cover what they have done wrong. And to me, that bothers me a lot when what they've done. But again, this is more of a social problem. There's a lot of issues that needs to be addressed, and just going after the NFL or any kind of sports entity for that matter isn't going to solve the problem. All it's going to do is say, be on a witch hunt. And what happens once it's cooled down? Are we going to still talk about domestic violence? Are we going to still talk about child abuse? Because that's the word. Because if we quiet down now, then what's the point of going after the NFL? Because basically you're just saying that because he's a star, we should talk about it. But after that, we ain't gonna talk about it no more.
This is a situation that unfortunately I feel like we just cycle through these things in America. You know, Sandy Hook have talk about gun control for a month, and then let's just drop it. Let's never talk about it again. I guarantee right now, everything happening in Ferguson. Oh well, okay. Let's talk about police brutality until we're bored with it, and then let's just not talk about. Let's not fix it. Let's just talk about it for a while, and it's the same thing with domestic violence, with child abuse. Okay, it's a hot topic right now because of Ray Rice. We'll talk about it for a little while, but we're not going to actually do anything to fix it. And these will be issues that we'll be talking about 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, because nobody wants to actually come in and do anything to fix the problems. We just want to, in our sort of 24-hour news cycle kind of thing, they'll pick up on a story, they'll talk about it for a while, they'll get the country up in an uproar, and then they'll just move on to the next story, and everybody will forget about it, and nothing will be fixed. But I do think the point you made about, them suspending players severely for marijuana use, or basically doing something that's the equivalent of having a beer, is it's ridiculous to do that at all, but to do that and then to not apply a far more severe punishment right off the bat for something like domestic violence is, I think the reason why they would do that is because alcohol companies do not like the idea of legalized marijuana, and the alcohol companies sponsor the NFL. So a player gets caught smoking weed, yeah, suspend him, punish him, because he's offending the sponsors. That's all that is. They don't actually care about the fact that he's smoking weed. They care about the fact that he got caught and it's making it
Interesting.
look normal. And God forbid we make marijuana look normal when people can go out and get drunk, on the product of their sponsors. So it's again, I mean, it's hard for me to get too mad at the NFL because it is a corporation that has no moral responsibilities whatsoever. They only have, which is again goes to the idea of corporations being people, which is ridiculous because people have moral obligations, moral responsibilities. Corporations only have financial responsibilities. And Ray Rice is just a commodity to them. And they don't want to see their brand tarnished. So at first it's like, well, we don't want to see it tarnished by getting rid of him because he makes us money. Oh, wait, he's not going to be making this money because he's pissed everybody off. Okay, get rid of him. And yeah, he's a scapegoat. I mean, they've known about players doing stuff like this for decades. And now that they got in trouble for it, okay, get rid of him. Let's make everybody happy and get them to the football games. And that's all it's about. So it's hypocritical, but it's no different than what you would see any corporation do, which is, a whole separate issue. But yeah, they're a completely amoral entity that only cares about money. It doesn't shock me. It shocks a lot of people, but it doesn't shock me.
Well, I know one thing. It's not gonna die down any quickly because every time you turn around, there's something else going on with a football player. You kind of hope that it doesn't bring uh, a bad marking on the good players who just want to go out there, perform, do what they paid to do. But to me, with the NFL, there's more to me. I can get mad at NFL all year long. To me, it goes down to more of a societal issue and how we view things. Because here's the thing, right? And I don't know if you noticed this. Rihanna was supposed to do the theme song for Sunday Night Football, and she got pulled for it for what happened to Ray Rice. Now, I'm looking at this and say, what does Rihanna have to do with it? Yeah, there was the Chris Brown situation, but she was the victim. Why are they punishing her for
Hmm.
something? To me, to me that scratched my head just alone. It's like I feel like that with all the stuff that's going on, especially with the way ESPN kept showing that clip over and over and over, 57 times. Who are you really trying to mean Ray Rice or the victims themselves? I mean, come on, 57 times? You can't talk about it without showing that clip. So to
Yeah.
me, I feel that there's more punishment on the victims than it is than it should be. That's another thing because when you hear a lot of people talking, especially Ray Brothers, which has no business saying anything about domestic violence whatsoever in his lifetime, especially what he went through. To me, it just shows how, especially with Fox, which I actually was going to talk about, but I might as well bring him up here because Fox have also made some jokes about it as well, and they later apologized for it, and the lady have actually got on them. I guess on Fox and Friends got on them about that constructive criticism, but they got on them about that, and then they talk about what they need to talk about. But this is the problem I have. Too many people is making a lot of it. Too many people don't seem to understand how serious it is, and there are also a lot of people, including some of my friends, who's making excuses. One of the things when I was talking about when I went home They said that well, she hit him first.
Yeah.
Dude, are you serious?
Mhm.
He knocked her out.
Yeah.
I don't even care if she did hit her first. He's a stronger man.
Yeah.
He knocked her out. And to top it all off, he stood right there, not even concerned.
Yeah.
He just looked at her, dragged her out, gave her a nudge. There was no concern in that whole emotion.
I
None.
mean, kicked her with his
You
foot.
can't make excuses for that
Yeah.
at all.
And I'll, you know what? I would. There are women who physically abuse men, and there are women who physically, uh, have hurt men in the past, and a man has a right to defend himself. However, you've got to look at it in a case by case basis. There's going to be a guy who maybe can't defend himself, or the woman's bigger or stronger or whatever it is. Okay, that guy's being abused. This woman, he's a football player. He's not going to be able to hurt him. She could, he can restrain her. He can grab her arms and hold her and stop her from, throwing a punch. He doesn't have to actually hit her. And there's a big difference between, again, I mean, it's one of the problems with the law is that the law tries to apply everything equally to all people all the time. And there's going to be situations where, okay, a guy hitting a woman in this situation, yeah, that makes sense. He was defending himself, and he had a right to be concerned. Ray Rice didn't have a right to be concerned. He's a football player. She weighs 110 pounds less than him, and he has the power to. Like I said before, he could have killed her with that punch. He's extremely lucky he's not in jail for murder. So it's one of those things where to make an excuse to say, well, she spit on him. Yeah, well, I'm sure that hurt his feelings.
Is, is,
You know, it's not a reason to assault
well,
somebody
like I
and
well, like I said, I mean, we both agree. This is a social issue, and I think that it needs to be looked at more than just, oh, the NFL did this, the NFL did that, or this player did this. It's a whole lot of issues going on, and I think that until we get out of our own bubble saying this ain't gonna happen to me, or this is the way it always have been, or this, that person should never did this. Look at it for what it is. There's a whole lot of more stuff that's going on, and until we had that real serious debate, until we actually are more educated, because that's something that has been a major issue in this country, not educating ourselves as well as having the schools, pinpoint these situations head on. I don't see just by knocking the NFL alone is going to solve the problem. All it's going to do is make it be more aware and put new restrictions on the NFL in terms of how they deal with this. But outside the NFL, there's still a whole lot of issues, still a whole lot of stories we have not heard of or will never heard of, and those are the things we really need to tackle. Not just one particular point of the story, but the whole. And we're not, and I feel that we're not really dealing with the whole. We're just focusing on the NFL and basically using the NFL as a punching bag where we should be really dealing with it head on as a society. We can talk about this a lot. I am not going to talk about the Fox News thing. I think we already covered it. Fox, I'll say it briefly. Fox have gotten in a little bit of trouble when they made fun of, I wouldn't say make fun, but made light of the situation, which when it was first reported with Ray Rice and what he had done in the elevator. They did made a 1/10 of apology by saying that we take it seriously, and that was it. A lady that came on the air that they had in Fox and Friends, I forgot the woman's name now. It escapes me. I have it the article, but I'm not gonna bother looking at it. Basically saying that they didn't handle it properly. They did a terrible job, and I forgot what the news guy said. But either way, it was not an excuse. And I said this before. Look, when it comes to journalism, I think you and I both agree it's not really news anymore. It's propaganda news. is what they want us to feel. They don't want to report the news. They want to put their own spin on the news. Fox is no different. CNN is no different. Um, I ask for one thing with my news cast, no matter who it is, even with the Young Turks. I ask for one thing: just give me what it is. Give me the reports. Be as honest as you possibly can, and I'll come up with my own conclusion. Okay, that's all I care about. I don't look at Sean Hannity. I don't care about what Bill O'Reilly says. I can't stand Rush Limbaugh, so I'm not even talking about him. But the point is, a lot of these news areas, they want to do entertainment now. They want to do rhetoric. They want to do everything except reporting the actual news. So here, what Fox did didn't surprise me. And to me, it's not just Fox News. It's just the news corporation in general that have forgotten how to do actual reporting. In many cases, it's become a circus. So um, to me, like this, you know, it's gotten bad when The Daily Show, which is actually a known comedy satire news show, their job is to poke fun at things, not to actually report general news, is more reliable and has more accuracy than the news as opposed to be serious. There's
And it's
something
more
wrong with that picture. I'm just saying. Go ahead, I'm listening.
no, they're more trusted news organization than Fox and MSNBC and CNN. I mean, people care what Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert have to say because they know they're going to get the truth. They're going to get a funny version of the truth, but they're going to get the truth. They're not going to get the truth from Bill O'Reilly, and that is a really sad state of affairs in this country when the people that are actual journalists. I don't think Bill O'Reilly is a journalist, but supposed journalists can't be relied on. You have to go to a comedian to get your news. That's a sad state of affairs.
It really is. And what I've seen with them is no. I'm like, you know what? No surprising. They're gonna keep doing this because a lot of people watch them. A lot of people want to see this dumb stupidity. I don't really don't care. I said, look, this is Fox News. That's what they're gonna do. So be it. I've long ago forgotten there was actually a news station for a while. And to me, they just want shock value, in my opinion. They want to be like what Howard Stern is and what Opie and Anthony is, which all shock jocks, by the way. And just for the record, and I said this before, my other report, I'm gonna say it again. They wouldn't make too much light over the Ray Rice situation. Yeah, they probably poke a little bit of fun, but you better believe two-thirds of their segment will be ranting and raving and blasting Ray Rice. They will not be in support of Ray Rice, and they will make light of what Ray Rice has done. So just keep in mind, if you want to be a shock jocks do have their limits too. I mean, not all of them, but there most of them that I have seen, they do have their limits. Look, I
And
said
I,
again, just give me a news reporter that can actually say news, and that's it.
I'd like to see how Fox News would have reacted if Ray Rice's wife had been white, because I guarantee you the reaction would have been different. They're they wear their racism on their sleeve. I mean, that's not a secret. So if the video had been Ray Rice hitting a white woman, it would have been a completely. They would not have thought it was funny at all. And you know, the one person, I mean, I said Bill O'Reilly is not a journalist. Bill O'Reilly at least has been somewhat consistent on this is not okay, that Ray Rice should have gotten in trouble. He's the only one on Fox News who seems to actually care.
Yeah, you did a good job with that one.
I don't know how much he actually cares, or if he's just following
Yeah,
public
I give him
opinion.
credit with that.
But yeah, I think that the
But he didn't make
Fox,
light of it, and he didn't try to make fun of it. That's the whole thing.
yeah, the Fox and Friends thing, it was just they're not even shock jocks. They're morning news people who try to be shock jocks. They're the safest sort of conservative, buttoned up people. They don't know how to be shocking, so they just state their actual opinions, which is, well, we're a bunch of white middle class people who have no idea that there's anything out in the world that is scary or bad because we grew up in this safe little protected bubble. And, they have no business reporting on anything because they don't, they should be doing cooking segments. That's what they should be doing. They should be, let's teach you how to make a pot roast. That's what they should be doing because they're not journalists. They're just morning entertainment. It's just fluff. And to try and tackle things like domestic violence or ISIS or anything like that, they have no concept outside of their safe little protected bubbles that anything bad ever happens in the world. So they have no right to comment on those things.
No, like I said, they did, and they got a little heat for it. But like I said, it's just a little heat. Um,
Mhm.
Again, I don't for terms of Fox and Company, I don't really, I don't surprise me anymore. To me, they're just a small fraction of what our news reporting has become, and it's become not good because again, it's become propaganda news. It's not even news anymore. It's just giving. They're going to tell us what they want us to hear, and then that's it. They don't want to really give us more, the truth of what is going on. But we can talk about that about the news all week if we could. And trust me, then I think we're gonna hear a lot more. Just like Rush Limbaugh, if he can't help, they can't help themselves. There's something else gonna come up, and believe me, we'll be talking about that as well. But they get Daily Show to something to talk about, so by all means, keep continue. Um, we're gonna move back at the entertainment. Um, this is something that I kind of surprised that they're actually considering doing. You had mentioned a little bit about this before you went on the air, and I have to say, I don't know how big the Vacation franchise is still is today, but there is honestly enough where it did poke interest on ABC. According to this article, which was done by The Wire. Dave Sims is the person who did the article. A pilot script for the sitcom reuniting Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, I hope I said the last name right,
Yep.
who starred in four national anthem vacation movies in the 80s and 90s. The script will be written by the Arrested Development Brad Copeland, who also worked in News Radio, which is my favorite show. I didn't see much of my name is the film Groundhogs. The ABC ordered the script with a penalty attached, which means a pilot will at least be made with an eye on a 2015/16 season. So basically, it won't be this year. It'll be probably the following year. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the script will see Chase and D'Angelo play the married couple, although not necessarily the Griswolds. So what's the point? Huh. Who suddenly are put in charge of raising their grandchildren, which sounds like it could get a little dark. Why?
I don't know how that's
If
dark.
it, if this if you miss the Great Walls themselves, don't worry. Chase and D'Angelo are making a cameo in Ed Helms' Christina Applegate reboot of Vacation coming out next year. Oh, so there is a Vacation. Is this a movie or a team made for TV?
No, it's a movie.
I gotta look that up. In theaters?
Apparently, it's been a while coming. They've been talking
That's the
about it
thing.
for.
I didn't say it's. Hmm. The project reprised Chase selfish back to the TV sitcom after public fading of his career. Damn handle on the Hammond on the Community. So how long has it been since he said that show? He left the show.
It's
Was it
been
two
a
years
couple.
now?
Yeah, at least 2 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I know there was some lot of rumors about why he left. I don't know if any of them true or not, but it has been a while.
Yeah.
The last show he worked on since the first season, Saturday Night Live, Chase had never had a reputation for being the easiest person to work with, but he obviously still had enough name recognition to get ABC attention for the project, even after the story of him dropping the N word on the set. I don't know that I heard of, but I don't know just how up
Uh,
on that, so I don't know if how true.
that story, but I mean, it's sort of,
You got any information on that?
yeah. I mean, it's that's a little bit overblown because apparently he didn't like that his character on Community was portrayed as a racist. And at one point he said, "The next thing you know, you're going to have me calling." I think Donald Glover was the other actor. You're going to have me calling him the N-word. No, except he didn't say the N-word. He said the word. And but he didn't. He wasn't calling
Hmm.
him it. He was saying, "Look, I feel like you're making me on the show a racist, and I'm not comfortable with that, and I don't want to, you know, the next thing you know, you're going to have me saying this." And it got reported as he had actually called him that, which was not actually the case. So that was Chevy Chase is
Okay.
kind of a jerk, but I feel like that was a situation where that was he was painted with a brush that didn't really apply to him. That wasn't really uh, a fair criticism of him. There's plenty to criticize Chevy Chase about. I don't think that was particularly fair, but the rest of the cast of Community hated him, so there must have been something to their animosity toward him.
Well, we probably never. That's probably behind the scenes. We'll never know.
Yeah.
I seriously got hard. It says here in recent years outside for steering work on the HBO Entourage that has not succumbed. Not I don't know what the hell they're saying here. I can't even pronounce this. I'll give you the word Sarcasm.
Oh, sarcasm.
Sarcasm. Okay. That's not sarcasm. She really was a great as Agent Margot Barbara Miller. I never don't know that. I haven't seen Entourage too much, so I can't really say. And that's pretty much what they're saying here. They've been more about Chevy Chase's working ethics than it is about the so-called new vacation spinoff or reboot, or you want to call it these days. Um, Again, with the exception of the last vacation movie, which I don't count at all, the one with Dennis Quaid, I believe, is in there.
Never even seen it.
I'm sorry, Randy Quaid. I don't
But,
count that, so
yeah.
you may count it as part of
I,
it, but
or
to me that was a poor attempt of a cash cow to me.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I just you know it's hard for a movie to TV show. I said this plenty of times. I'm actually going to do a worse of. It's hard for a movie series to make that transition to TV. A lot more than a TV than a TV show to make a transition to movie sometimes, and sometimes that doesn't. But I, is there a fan base for the Vacation franchise? Is there people talking about it? Because I don't really think too many people, with the exception of Christmas Vacation, which they consider to be the great classic. I
Yeah.
don't really hear too many people talk about the other ones. I liked the first one. I didn't. Two
Yeah.
was forgettable. I love three and four. They should have just left it alone because
Yeah.
Vegas Vacation was just a boring film to
Well,
me.
two. Yeah, I think one and three are classics. I think two was a missed opportunity because they cut it down. It was an R-rated movie, and then they recut it to try and make it a PG-rated movie to make more money, and that really shows that they had cut it down. Um, I'd be interested. I like the idea of the movie that they want to do. The fifth movie is it would be Chevy Chase's son is now grown up, and so Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo would be the grandparents at this point, and then they go on a vacation, and that would be the fifth movie. I like that idea. I think it'd be funny to see it. The whole thing with the show, I don't understand. Apparently, they're not playing the characters from the movie. They're just getting those two actors together. So I don't see. I think this is another. The title of that sort of misrepresents it. It makes it sound like it's a vacation TV show, whereas it's just, uh, Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo in a TV show together. I don't know. That to me, I wouldn't get that excited
Uh,
about. I would like to see a fifth movie, though. I think that'd be kind of funny to see a fifth one.
mhm. You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like having Ferris Bueller without Ferris Bueller's characteristics.
Yeah,
And they done that as a TV show, where they
yeah.
made a Ferris Bueller TV series, and the guy just basically said, I'm not gonna follow what the movie did. I'm gonna recreate this guy. He's gonna be a nice guy. He's gonna be a good boy, and that show didn't even last a season.
hmm Well, yeah. I
Keep
mean,
that in mind before you decide to make the Griswolds not the Griswolds. I'm just saying.
yeah. Well, I mean, the whole. I don't understand the whole. They're going to take care of their grandkids, so that could get dark. How is that dark? That sounds like that would be the lightest, fluffiest TV show ever. Is them having to be grandparents. It doesn't sound like a. And ABC is not known for doing dark sitcoms. So yeah, I don't know the vacation. I would like to see another movie.
Uh,
TV show, I don't really care. It it doesn't sound like it's even related to vacation. So, uh, but a movie I would
well,
like.
I'm looking at the article, and the article don't seem interested. The article it talked about it, but they talked about everything else other than this show. I mean, they went back to it eventually, but it felt like the article is like campaigning against having Chevy Chase be part of this role, and that's pretty much because of some of the stuff that happened in the community. Now, I didn't see the show, so I can't comment on how good the show is, how bad the show is. I know a lot of people were shocked that he left,
Mm,
but I don't know. I just don't feel. I don't feel they don't unless you're really gonna have some comedy that's gonna blow me away, and I don't see this working past one season. I just don't.
yeah. Well,
I don't even see it passing working past 5 episodes. But
I mean, that's a problem with not only this, but it's just TV in general. I mean, I feel like networks are still trying to do the same old thing that they've always done. Well, let's get a big star and put him on TV. Well, nobody cares anymore. We've got Netflix. We've got Hulu. We've got the all this. We don't need to see. I'm not going to pay $75 a month for cable so I can watch Chevy Chase not play Clark Griswold. I mean, it's just that doesn't really appeal to me at all. And it's again, I mean, it's just the networks playing the same old game that they've been playing for you know 60 years now, but stopped working about 10 years ago.
well, for Chevy Chase, all I can say is wish him the best. I don't know about his work. I don't know how much he get along with people. From what I understand, he's not the easiest one. Fine. I know a lot of other actors that's a whole lot worse. So to me, like I said, I don't know about the N-word situation. I heard about it briefly, but I didn't go crazy about it because it didn't sound like the story was legit from what I've been reading.
Mm.
But